Today's episode features Brian Armstrong, an Emmy award-winning filmmaker, producer, journalist, author, and environmental advocate, with more than 35 years of experience shaping the media landscape. In 2010, Brian launched Red Rock Films, a US-based production company that has become one of the largest and most innovative producers of wildlife content in the world, with accolades including a Primetime Emmy for Secrets of the Whales and a prestigious Jackson Wild Award. Brian, with such a storied career across different media landscapes, from National Geographic to Disney and Netflix, what's been the most surprising shift you've encountered in the industry? And how are you navigating these changes at Red Rock Films?
That's a big and loaded question because it's really happening right now. We've seen changes before that are sort of on a secular basis. They're trends that come and go and come back around again. But what we're seeing now with the shift to streaming has been a seismic shift. And we all saw it coming 20 years ago. We knew it was coming. But there are a lot of things we didn't realize about the shift to streaming and how it would impact the industry. And that's mainly in the demand for content. The quality has gone way up, but the demand overall has gone down. And we're in the midst of this right now as we switch from sort of a cable-based system for the most part. You know, the other big shift was switching from broadcast to cable, but that was still sort of linear, just different delivery systems. This is a different delivery system, but it's also doesn't have to be linear. You can watch anything at any time.
What does the demand that's fallen, where's it come from? Is it a change in consumption in the audiences, or is this a sort of industry type thing? And then the gatekeepers are no longer sort of seeking that type of content, or they seek less of it?
Well, it's a couple of things. One is, the main thing is that you can go home now and you have a choice of what you watch, of course. But you're not only looking at sort of live streaming. You know, there was once a programmer who would say, okay, on our network, you're going to watch this and this and this and then this, and they've lined up everything nicely according to a very linear structure and have, you know, maybe special Wild Wednesdays or whatever it is during the week. I can go, if I want to chill out now and watch something to escape, then I might go watch an episode of Bewitched from, 70 years ago, whatever that was. There are so many different options available to you now. There's great new content, but there's also endless amount of past content that you can watch at the click of a button. So the need for premiere hours, which is what was driving the cable industry, has gone way down.
Right. And what's that mean for yourself and the competition as well?
Well, the big thing right now, what's happening is there are cable contracts, so that networks have to provide a certain amount of premiere content to cable networks, but their budgets are going way, way, way down as everyone switches to streaming. So they have to still fulfill those contracts with a certain amount of premiere programming, but they want to do it as cheaply as possible. And they're not caring so much about the longevity of those shows or how long the licenses are for. They have to tick a box that says, okay, this was a brand new show that we were able to put out on our network and fulfill our contract to the cable provider. What they're mainly focusing on is putting that programming money into their streaming services. So you have two buckets now. You have a very, very low production budget for the cable networks traditionally. This is obviously it's a generalization, but you have these very large buckets for the big streamers. And what's disappeared is everything in the middle. And everything in the middle was the bread and butter for the majority of unscripted production companies. So you're seeing a lot of production companies disappear.
Right. And how have you been able to sustain yourself for this long?
Well, we're fortunate to get in the industry and get a reputation for good quality content early on, and we're able to have good discussions with both sides, both the lower budget stuff and the higher budget stuff as well. And it's not been easy, but we're not getting big contracts anymore from multiple episodes of the series. And that's been the tough. The bar is so high, very high on the streamer side. The quality is through the roof, and you can go and turn on your streaming service now and just see the quality of TV is incredible on that side. So
Yeah.
we're able to talk to both markets, and we have a history of being scrappy. We're not a huge organization. We're about 12 full-time employees and freelancers as we need them. So we can bump up to 30 or 40 people as needed. But we're able to also be, to shrink and be scrappy and do that cheaper, smaller stuff and even digital content as well.
So personally, Brian, where's most of your energy focused in on the business right now?
Diversifying is really the big word right now. The problem we have, you're from New Zealand, right? And I'm from Australia originally. And our countries, people and production companies do a wide range of things. Like, we're used to being the shooter, the writer, the producer, the
Yeah.
sound guy, the cook, whatever you need to do. In the US, it's a little different. It's more, you get put in a box pretty quickly. You get pigeonholed. So we're known for our wildlife content, and that's a great sort of genre to be in. But it makes it harder for us, someone look at us and say, "Oh, you're going to do a crime show," and everything right now is about crime. There's little content that is based around, I would say, content that makes you feel smarter after you finish watching it. Still entertaining, but it's
Mm.
still a lot of crime stuff, and there's a lot of reality stuff. So we're working very hard and with some success diversifying how we are seen as a content maker, creator, so that we can dabble in these other genres. But it's very hard in the US because once you're seen as being a storyteller of a particular type, network executives will like to keep you in that box because that gives them the security. If they want to do a crime show, then they want to go to the people who are known for doing crime shows because it makes their job a little safer. It's a little less risky, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, so we're just working very hard at, in my personal belief, if we can tell a story with animals about animals who don't get a script and you can't read and don't show up and they're meant to show up, then you can tell a story about anything. But we're just you spend a lot of time
Absolutely.
convincing others that that's the case.
I agree. And Brian, where does this need for diversifying come from? Is it because of a desire to actually expand into other markets, or is it actually to stay a little bit more competitive?
Yeah, it's that flexibility thing. It's and being nimble. It's also, there are still trends in terms of what kind of content is going on. A show will do really well, like the Menendez brothers show did fantastic for Netflix. So now suddenly everyone's like, well, what sort of limited crime series can we do as scripted and an unscripted? So crime is very big right now. It always has been, really. It's on the ID channel, for example, I'd do 300 hours new every year once upon a time just on crime, the wives with knives and that kind of thing. So there's still a need for crime right now. It's very hot. Everyone wants it, and there'll be a change at some point, and that'll pivot to some other thing. So we just want to try and stay flexible and get ahead of the curve on what we think is going to be next.
Interesting. And so with regards to getting ahead of the curve and working into the demand, what are some of the most important metrics for you going forward in terms of growth?
Well, in terms of our bottom line, it's not even necessarily the number of hours, but it's the quality of the hours. It's the price point per hour. So we're looking a lot overseas now to where we can do deals where we can fulfill these lower budget cable hours in the US, but also retain rights and have those be able to go overseas and make money on the back end. So I'm not sure that answers your question, but it's the business model. We're looking at all sorts of ways to ensure that we can survive and thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting. That's also part of diversifying as well. But in saying that, is there also additional ways you're trying to maybe get new projects greenlit or actually new clients that want to be able to, work with you in a long-term capacity? Are you looking for that as well?
Yeah, we're actually having quite a bit of success with sort of non-traditional funding. So not
Right.
the streaming or the cable networks, but we're doing a project now, a wildlife-based project for a government, for a country that wants to promote its wildlife. And we can look at, there's other grants and funding out there that we're also being able to tap for organizations that are interested in promoting science, for example, because there's not a lot of science on TV right now. It's more escapism. And like I said, we are known for providing entertaining content and engaging content that you do come away feeling a little smarter having watched, Secrets of the Whales or even Penguin Town we did for Netflix. So there are some organizations that are still interested in that niche, and they just want to try and get their content on there. So we're partnering up with some philanthropic and scientific and government, everywhere we can, but looking at other non-traditional means.
Amazing, and that's an interesting word, non-traditional. I'm hearing a lot of that in our industry because people are pushing to discover new models and get out there and really make sure their business survives and even thrives. Are you also working with some brands as well, which is something I'm seeing a lot of collaboration between production companies?
We're we're talking. We're not actively working in that area. We're finding we did have a development deal, which we'll see how that pans out with one particular brand. But it's tricky. All these big brands now have their own channels, even. So you can go watch the Red Bull channel. So they have their own production companies and own entities. There's also product placement. There's things like that. We're dabbling in that area, but we have not had a lot of success yet at that level because they still want eyeballs. So you've got to pull
Mm,
in. The more complicated the deals get, the harder it is to get it across the line. And those deals, in our experience, tend to get pretty complicated.
interesting. And what's something that you've tried and may or may not have worked with regards to breaking into that sort of market?
Um, well, I don't want to mention a specific name, but we did have a development deal for a sporting based show around that was being sponsored by a brand, and we went a long way with that. And then in the end, the executive who was pushing it at the brand switched. They were out. A new executive was in, and they didn't like the project as much, so they put a kibosh on it. But
Yeah,
it's and that can happen at any time, and even at a
yeah.
network. It's just a change of the wind.
Yeah, that's a shame. And sometimes you spend all this time really developing your relationship and getting to know the project, and then suddenly just a shift in a single role can just completely change the project.
That
Brian,
happens so often. I have to
yeah,
say that's probably one of the biggest frustration of the way things are
right.
changing now, and budgets have gone down, executives are changing, and we still have, like I said, good relationships. But we're friends at these networks, and they've lost their jobs or they've moved, and you're
Yeah.
starting from scratch again.
And I think part of that is attributed to a over-reliance on word of mouth. Our industry's thrived in the past on word of mouth, and you've always gone work, a lot of work, through connections and referrals, and now people are just retiring and they're not there. Now you don't know where the work's going to come from. Do you feel like that over-reliance needs to stop and or maybe something something else needs to happen? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm not sure. Totally agree with your analysis there. I think that what we find is that the executives, whoever they are, at a certain level, they're looking after their jobs, and they may have never made a program before in their lives, but they want to feel secure about something they greenlight. We always think when a commissioner greenlights a show, they're putting their job on the line, and that might be a bit extreme, but you've got to look at it like that because it could be true. So when they want to greenlight something, especially with a big budget, then they want to go to their boss and say, "Hey, I've got this director who did X
Mm,
and this production company that did Y, and we've got this celebrity who's everyone knows," and they want to present a package, and it may be in terms of getting something made, an overly bloated, expensive sort of package that you don't need. May bring in extra people that are not needed, but it gives them security and confidence. So those streamers that have the money to do that, we're finding they're they like to put their fingerprints on a project as much as possible, and sometimes that makes it harder to make. Sometimes it makes it better to make. You just don't know what you're going into. So the relationships are important, but at some level, especially if you're trying to break into new genres, you need to be able to tick some boxes that make them feel confident, give them reasons to say yes and not.
interesting. Now, with regards to maintaining some of these relationships, but also building new ones. What are some of your goals for the next 6 to 12 months, even 36 months?
We have good relationships at the sort of right places. Right now, we're known for wildlife, and wildlife is taken a big downturn. There was a big bubble we saw a few years ago. I think everyone recognised that was going to burst, and it has. So Bristol is which is pretty well our major competitor when it comes to wildlife. Everyone likes to go towards the BBC because of the brand, even if it's expensive and is telling stories more for a British audience than an American audience. But there's that ticking that box of confidence. But Bristol right now is about 80% unemployed. So the whole wildlife industry is we're still doing stuff. We feel lucky to be doing stuff, but there's a lot of our friends who are out of work. So in terms of the relationships, where we've got good relationships with the right places, we're working on convincing them that we don't just do wildlife, that we can do
Right.
multiple other genres.
Right. And again, coming back to the key word is diversifying right now in the market right now. It's such a important time to do that. And why is it now and the most important time to do that, Brian?
Well, to be honest, if you're starting now with your diversification in genres and the networks, you're a bit late. It's always been important, but it really, once the streaming services sort of became the big, 1,000-pound gorilla, then you needed to be already in a good position in terms of your reputation and across multiple genres. And that's why we're doing a bit of catch up now, because we've become known for one particular genre. Even when we've done military, we've done history, we've done webbies for digital content, but we're known for this wildlife thing. So we're trying to make sure, yeah, we can do that and we love it and we're really good at it, but we can also do this other stuff as well. So it's a constant kind of messaging to try and get
Gotcha.
out there.
So, with regards to all these new business activities, you're looking to expand and get those rights out internationally, etc. What's something that's priority number one? What's really got to happen to move the needle forward?
In terms of our survivability, you mean?
Yes, yeah. In terms of diversifying and survivability, yeah.
Yeah. Well, our business started off as like a full commission based business. So we retain rights in many programs that we do. They pay us a lot of money, we make them, and we hand them over, and we're done. That's probably been 90% of our business, maybe 95. So where it's a little bit different in other countries where programs by law revert back to the production company. In the US, that's not the case. So we're trying to now to look at deals where we retain some ownership. I think the bottom line is just we need green lights. Everyone's really, on the commissioning side, has been really slow to green light right now. They're very cautious. They're taking very, very, very long time. They'll look at projects for months and months and months. And there's no one right now saying, yep, go do that. There's very few. You might get a Shark Week show like that now and then, but those are few and far between. Really, for us, I think we're doing pretty much all we can. We have so many projects out there; it's crazy, and a lot of them have been looked at very seriously. What needs to happen is for commissions to start saying, "Yes, I'll take that," and whether that's a full commission or it's a co-production or whatever it is, we just need that ball to start rolling again.
And if you had a magic wand coming down to the end, Brian, and you could give it a big whoosh, I like to ask my participants at the end, and what would that one thing be that you'd wish to solve with regards to getting business now back into thriving mode, moving the engine full steam ahead? What would that one thing be?
So, what would the one thing be for the business right now? I think I would like to see a streamer with a large budget who is more focused. And I think it's going to come back around again, but focused on programming that is, like I said earlier, it is entertaining, it is engaging, but you come away from watching that programming feeling a little smarter. I understand right now
Right.
when the world is the way it is, everyone wants escapism. I'm the same way. Like I said, I will go and watch Bewitched. I could go watch Gilligan's Island. But I think and I hope that we get some movement in this area that helps us make programming, frankly, that I'd be happy to show my grandkids. That's the kind of stuff I'm interested in. I want to make shows that I'm proud of, and that my kids can look at, and my grandkids can look at, and be happy with. Not that I have grandkids yet, but
Amazing.
I mean in the future, and
Yeah.
watch that kind of show. So, if I had the magic wand, then I would make that commissioner, that 1 in a million, come alive and give them a big budget to play with.
Amazing. What is something that you're most proud of today?
Well, like you said in the introduction, I've been in this business for more than 35 years, starting in news and current affairs in Australia, and then National Geographic, and then starting my own business. We've I feel like I've reinvented myself in this business sort of in several ways, several times, and I think that flexibility has allowed me to survive in the business. Frankly, I'm pretty proud of that. I think even starting Red Rock Films in 2010 was a risky thing, but here we are 15 years later, and we're still going.
Yeah.
We're going strong, where others have not been able to hold that ground. That they've gotten too big, or then burst, or whatever it is, but we're still here, so I'm pretty proud of that.
Amazing. This has been lovely, Brian. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for sharing your insights.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure.